Right, good morning everybody. I think we're ready to get started now. I know we've just had a little burst of last minute registration, so I think there's a few people signing on, but obviously in the interest of time and starting at 11 o'clock, I think we'll get up and running. So good morning. Welcome to this webinar today on Microsoft Teams. My name's Phil Denham. I'm the commercial director for HPP in Cameron, the HPP group, who are bringing this to you today. My role today is very much just as a bit of a host of obviously doing a bit of an introduction at the start of this, and then leading into my colleague Tony Pearson. I don't know if you're there, Tony, if you can unmute yourself and say hello.
Good morning, everybody.
We can hear you fine, Tone. So Tone's going to be leading the session today from a demonstration point of view when it comes to Microsoft Teams. He's going to be walking through some of the key areas of the software, and we are pitching this very much as this is probably new to you. We know that with everything that's been going on and the massive rise in working from home, Microsoft Teams has really come into its own over the last week or two. So we are starting this right from the beginning, but we also have Andy Bolton. So Andy, are you there as well?
Yeah, I'm here. Good morning.
Yeah. So Andy's there as well, and Andy's there. He's going to sit in the background for the first half, really, for your questions and answers, and we're going to have the second half of this session really around questions and answers. So if you have been using this a lot already, you've hit any problems, or you want to know what to do more, there should be a Q&A section on the right hand side of your screen, or if not, a little button that's got a little question mark on it which you can hit. And start populating that throughout the session, and we will pick those up at the end of it. And that doesn't just have to be new questions, that can be questions no matter how advanced you want to go. Andy's been involved with setting up teams across HPP and Cameron over the last sort of 12 to 18 months, has got some really good experience there of the setup and the usage of it. So we'll do our absolute best to answer anything you chuck at us today. We're obviously in different places at the moment, so we're all sat at different desks, not nowhere near each other. So it's one of the first times we've ever run a webinar like this where we're completely separated from each other. But hopefully the technology's not going to let us down, and we're all good to go. We obviously aim to make this last about an hour, but it depends how many question and answers we get really in that second half of exactly how long it lasts. Okay, and we are learning this as we go, so there may be some stuff that you ask that we don't know the answer to, but like I say, we'll try our best. I'm just going to put this up on screen quickly because we did put this out in the sessions. Obviously, the people that are reading this won't be able to hear me if they can't hear me, but we're just letting people know that they do just need to turn their speakers or stick some headphones in for this session. Okay, just before we start, we just would like to add our voice to this. This is why Teams is so important. Obviously, it's all being asked to stay at home with the guidelines that have been provided by the government. For those of you that is on this session that are customers, I think we've reiterated to everybody we are now fully working from home as a business across HPP and Cameron. For essential work that does have to be carried out on site, we are carrying that out in isolated environments. Our guys have full protective gear in terms of face masks, gloves, full suits, etc., etc. So we are still keeping businesses that are deemed essential running in any way we possibly can, as safe as possible. But probably like you, we have now rolled out a full home working kind of policy for everybody involved. But like I say, we just wanted to add our voice to that. I'm sure everybody on this session will agree this is the best way that as businesses we can get through this. We need this to all last as little time as we possibly can, so we can all come out the back of this and hopefully get back to some form of normality. But when it comes to normality, obviously the world has changed. We're in this working from home environment, so the possibility of my children running in the middle of this is quite real. So if you hear me having to suddenly shout them out of the door, then I'm sure you will sympathise with that. But this change has made a huge difference to how we're working, certainly in the short term, possibly in the long term too. And it's changed things just like our basic communication between us and our colleagues. So this is where for us at HPP and Cameron, Teams has been brilliant in terms of basic chat, of voice chat, video calls with colleagues, team meetings, so having multiple people on one call, video and voice, which has been brilliant. We're starting to use more and more the Teams functionality within Microsoft Teams, which we're going to touch on a bit today, around sharing files, collaborating on files as well, and things like that, and also managing that workload as well, which is brilliant. And then I think we're going to touch on it very briefly today, but obviously what we're doing today, this kind of one-to-many approach, a functionality of Microsoft Teams called live events, which is what you're on right now, which just allows us to run a session to lots and lots of people in one go, which in the absence of physical events, which maybe you're used to running for your customers, then this could really kind of help keep in contact with your customers as well. We do think this will change things, this funny old situation that we're in. I mean, my email inbox internally is much quieter than normal. That's not just because of everything that's going on, that's because we're embracing Teams, and actually a lot of our communication now is happening on chat through the actual Teams functionality, but also through video calls and communications like that. So it potentially will change the way we work forever in terms of creating one centralized platform where we share content, we share our meetings with other people, all through this Microsoft Teams platform. So I'm sure you have seen this, you're obviously on it now one way or another. You've either got the application installed or you're using it through a browser or potentially a mobile device. And we're making the assumption that you're quite new to this, that you've either used it a bit but not really thrown yourselves into it because the need hasn't been there like it is now, or you're absolutely brand new to this and you've started working from home and someone in your organization has said, right, we better start using Teams, and it's brand new in that respect. So we're going to keep it fairly basic and overview today, but our plan is that we will be rolling out more advanced sessions on this into each specific area. Now, don't let that stop you on the Q&A, on the question and answer side of things. Ask away, whatever it is, we'll cover that today as well. But we'll also be asking you at the end what you want to see next, so we can go into some of these specific areas in a lot more detail. Okay, right, so just before I hand over to Tony, these are the key things. So if you're familiar with your Teams layout, you know on the left hand side there are 5 buttons. We're going to cover 3 of those buttons today really, which are chat, including calls, video calls, the calendar, including scheduling meetings and running webinars, so these live events. And we're also going to dip into Teams a little bit as well and just show you kind of what the functionality of that is before we go into the Q&A. So I think, Tone, if you're ready to swap over to your screen, and I'll hand over control to Tony Pearson.
Okay, thank you very much, Phil. Great to see so many of you on board today. Okay, so like Phil said, we're all finding ourselves working from home, and I think a lot of people have just been thrown into using Teams. Myself and Andy have been doing a lot of work with organisations around Teams probably over the last 12 months. But it's primarily been focused around the Teams element, the collaboration element of things. What we're now seeing is people using it for the communication element, which is one of the 2 pillars of Teams, and that's really what we're going to focus on today. For any of you familiar with Skype, so Teams is Microsoft's replacement for Skype. Skype for Business is being end of life by the end of this year, and I'm sure you'll have seen pop-ups on your machine saying install Teams if you're not using it already. As I said, 2 main functions of Teams is around collaboration, which, as I say, we'll briefly touch on, and then obviously the communication piece as well from there. You can work both inside and outside your organisation. So things we're going to show you today will work inside and outside. Obviously, you can put some governance around that. You can put some permissions around that, but it does allow you to use the majority of the features we're going to show you today, both inside and outside your organisation. Some things that we can do as well, and probably the most common question I've been asked over the last few weeks is we're using Teams. How do we get people who don't have Teams involved? Do we have a number that we can call them in on, or do we have a number we can conference them in on? And the answer is yes. It isn't in the standard packages that most people have. You have to purchase a bolt-on from Microsoft, you get a number, and then obviously people can dial in from there. But what I have been suggesting to most people is there is a really good feature-rich app which you can download on iPhones and iPads and other devices, and just to use that, it gives full video, gives full voice, and everybody can use that from there. So it works really well. Currently as well, Microsoft announced, I think it was last week, but if not the week before, they're also giving Teams away for free. So if you don't have it on your current 365 package, there is a link we'll be sharing at the end, which will show the link to go to download that for free as well. Right, okay, I'm just going to share my screen with everybody, so hopefully everybody can see my team screen at the moment. And what we're initially going to start off is in the chat section. So as you can see, I've got a bit of information in here already. I'm using a demo account. But this gives us the option to do varying different things. Now, it is called a chat section, but it does allow me to do much more from there as well. It allows me not only to chat, I can do a voice call through here to somebody inside or outside my organisation through Teams. I can do a video call. I can also share my desktop and share other applications as well, like PowerPoint, Whiteboard, etc., etc. So we're just going to have a bit of a walk through here to start with, and we'll see how this builds up. So as you can see on the left hand side here, I've got various chats that I've had. One key thing to notice, which is really good with home working, is I also get a little circle next to the people. It shows me the status at the moment, so I can see that obviously Andy and Phil are on red. That's reading into their calendars. It knows that they're on this this conference already, and that it knows they're not available, so I can instantly see who's available. However, I can see Rachel Gray there as a green tick, so I'm seeing she's available within Teams. So it will look into Teams itself, but it will also look into your calendar to see who's available. So if I wanted to start a simple chat from within Teams at the moment, all I need to simply do is click the new chat option here and start typing the name and I want to chat with. So if I wanted to chat today with Ryan Garlick, I can simply pick his name up from there, and I can simply type in hello in a basic format from there, and that will post straight through to Ryan from that perspective. If I was in that chat and I then wanted to add another person in, so I've been having a conversation with Ryan and I want to add somebody else in the top right hand corner here, I can simply click the add people option and I can type in Phil Denham and add him into the chat. It will instantly add him in. Now, one thing it won't do, it won't bring through, a bit like within WhatsApp, if anybody's used WhatsApp, it won't bring through any of the history conversation. So if we've been having a conversation about Ryan and then we need to bring Phil in, it's not going to show any of the history that's gone on within that conversation. You'll notice from the options up here as well, we will cover these in the next section, but from within chat, I have the ability to start a video call, a voice call, and share my desktop. You will notice for this demo, I don't have any video turned on. I'm just doing this through a remote session, so the video is disabled currently, but I can start an instant call from in here, or if I had it turned on, an instant video. What that will do, that will instantly ring those people that are in this chat. So it's really simply to get a chat over. Chat is really designed there for quick chat and communication, and we're using this in our business on a day-to-day basis now. It's overtaking communication from the phone system. If we want to have a chat internally with one of the managers or a group of people, I simply add them in, as I've shown you from there, click the call, and it will ring all those people instantly. Those who are available to answer can answer the call. Those who can't, I could either add them in later when they are available, or we can chat and they can chat rather than joining the audio side of things as well.
Tony, can I just clarify one thing there as well?
I can also manage my contacts once I'm in there. So you'll notice I've got people down here, and as we started adding them in, I can also go to my contact section. So if I wanted to pin some contacts here to make it real quick and easy for me to communicate with those people, I can simply add more people into these contact lists. So the people I'm contacting regularly, I'm not having to go to the top and doing new and finding from there. So if I wanted to add in, for argument's sake, Jo Benson, it will search through, I can add her in, and I can see her status straight away. And I've also got the ability to just double click and chat with her from there. One thing you might notice as well is that this could get very full quite quickly, and you might get some of the conversations falling further and further down, and the people you communicate regularly with you might want at the top. So we've got the little breadcrumb option here, and if I click the breadcrumb option, I can simply pin that to the top. That will always remain at the top of my conversations. I can do the same with the next one, and I can sort the order out as I want to sort the order out from there. So it makes it easy to communicate quickly with the people that I most want to communicate with. So if we just go into this section here, so I've had a bit of a communication with Phil. I just want to cover off some of the options along the bottom. So as you can see, I've got the quick chat option. Those of you who've used Teams will notice if I press enter now, you would think it would do a return. It doesn't. It posts that straight in. This is something that can be quite confusing when you first start using Teams. All you simply need to do is click this format option here, and you'll get a rich box up here where I can type in. I can use the enter button, and it will carriage return. It also allows me to put a bit of fanciness on it, and I can start using some of the standard Word functionality you would expect to use from there. I can also drop in links if I needed to, so links to websites and things like that, and it gives me that feature-rich ability from there. Okay, I can also, which is quite a useful option, I can prioritize that. So standard, when I'm communicating, I can have it as a standard text. I can put important next to it, which will put an exclamation mark. But one quite good thing, you can put it as urgent, and that person will be notified, as it says there, every 2 minutes for 20 minutes. So it will keep popping up. It will keep reminding them that there's things to, there's a chat there that's urgent that I need to action and do something with. You can just simply drop an attachment in as well, and this is quite useful. So I can upload an attachment from my PC. It equally links to OneDrive and SharePoint as well. So if I wanted to upload that document to this chat, I can simply click OK from there. And it would upload the document. That document is empty, but I've uploaded this one previously. Now, there's some really good features around collaboration on this. So those of you notice across the top, I have a files option. If I go into that files, I can see that document that I uploaded here previously. I can access it multiple ways. I can simply go into here, double click the document and open it. Another simple way I can access it, if I just double click it in the chat option here, it opens that document. Once I'm in that document, I can amend it. I can type in it and do what I want. Now, this is a really useful tool because if I'm at home, Phil's at home, and we want to collaborate on this document, what we can then do, I can just go into the conversation option here, and I can put amended doc Phil in here, click that, come out of there, and what it will have done, it will have updated that document there, and it tells Phil it's updated, which is really useful from a collaboration perspective, that if I'm updating a document, we can talk around that document and work from there on that side of things as well. There are the standard emojis and gifs in here as well. You can turn these off at an organizational level if you want to, but you do tend to find it does bring a bit of camaraderie and a bit of fun into the post. So there are the standard gifs. There are also stickers as well in there if anybody fancies putting some stickers in, which you can amend as well from there. So it does give you those options from that perspective. I've also got a schedule a meeting option in here as well. So not only can we instantly turn a chat into a video call, a audio call, or a screen share, I also have the ability to schedule a meeting from in there as well. So I could add a meeting in. It automatically picks Phil from there because it knows Phil is in that chat. If there was multiple people in that chat, it would add them as well. But it also gives me the ability to add another person in if I wanted to. Obviously, I can pick the time and the date that I want it to be on, and I can also pick to repeat it. And I could put a bit of an agenda in there as well. So I do have the ability from within chat to do a scheduled meeting, but we'll come on to that shortly in a bit more in depth in another section from there. If I happen to do something in here that I didn't want by mistake, I can simply click the little breadcrumbs next to here and I can delete that comment for argument's sake. It will show up again, anybody who's used WhatsApp, very similar, where it would say message deleted. And it will show that for everybody, but it won't show what the message was. There are a few other options in there as well. So I've got mark and read. I can use the translator if I need to. And I've also got the immersive reader as well. So it will read them out to you in whatever language your machine's set to, if you need to as well from there. Okay, so just before we go on to the next section, you will notice from a notification perspective, you'll see that while we were sat here, I've got a 1 in here. So if I wasn't in the chat section, it would notify me here that I've got 1 unread message. And as you can see, this one's bold here from Rachel. I've not read it yet. As soon as it goes, as soon as I've read it, it will remove that from the section. What you will notice is there's very different notification settings depending on where you go within this. And I'll show you in a bit later on how we can at people, which will send them a notification, which is a bit more forceful. Otherwise, it will just sit there with a 1 on and just tell me somebody's chatted with me from there. So that's the basic chat section. The key thing to take away from this, it is a one-to-one, one-to-many chat. There isn't any sort of governance or control over that, but it does allow real quick communication between members of staff, people inside and outside your organisation. But there isn't much structure to it, as you can see. It's a very sort of free-for-all and chatting from there. So what we're going to go into now is some other sections shortly, which will show us how we can use a bit more control over them from there. Okay. So what I'm going to go to now is the calendar section. So this calendar section is linked directly into Outlook. So your Outlook calendar is this calendar, this calendar is your Outlook calendar. It's exactly the same thing. So as you can see here, here's the workshop that we've got on today. And you can populate that from there. So what it allows us to do in here, this is another way of creating a video call. So it's not a, so it gives me the option in the top right hand corner here to do exactly what we've just seen in the other section is scheduling a video call. So I can do weekly managers call from there. I can put in the participants. So if I wanted Phil and Andy Bolton, for argument's sake, I could add those people in. Now, what you can't do anywhere within Teams currently, as we speak, is add groups of people in. So if you've got a distribution group within the system, a finance team, an operations team, I can't put operations in here and send it out to everybody. If I needed to invite groups of people, I would do exactly the same, but I have to do it from within Outlook. If I go into Outlook, create a meeting, I've got Teams meeting option, all works in exactly the same way, and it would go out to multiple people. So I've added these 2 people in. I've selected the time. If I wanted to reoccur, I've got the same options as I have in Outlook. So I want this to reoccur every Monday. I've set the time for the event. There is this option for channels in here. For those of you who saw this earlier, I'll touch on that later when we come on to Teams, but you can select a channel within Teams that you want to post this into, but we'll show you that in a bit, and that might make a bit more sense from there. We can add a location, so if you were to have meeting rooms, I appreciate this isn't something that's probably that important at the moment, but if you wanted to book out a meeting room and make sure that was available, you could add a meeting room in there from that perspective, but we'll just put home, and then obviously we can add anything in we want to from here. The other good thing is then it integrates into your Outlook calendar, so you do have the scheduling assistant that you'd have within Outlook. So it's going to dip into those diaries and show me if those people are available at that moment in time for those meetings. So it does give me that option as well. Okay, so I'll just disregard that. As Phil mentioned earlier, we do have the other option next to the new meeting, which is the live event, which is what you guys are on today. So if I pick the live event, this does allow me to create an event. You would have all got the link from the event we sent out. So you just get a URL for anybody to connect to. And as I'm sure some of you are aware, you don't have to have Teams for that event to be available. You can simply open it in a web session, or it will open in Teams if you have Teams on the machine. It does allow you to do an event for up to 10,000 people. So it does increase from the 200 that you would do if you do a normal meeting. But it also allows you to have presenters and co-authors within that meeting as well, to make it much more usable like we're using today. So we can do live event. We can pick a location if we wanted to pick a location. So I'm at home, so we'll pick home in there, and we can put details of the event on. Now, the slight difference on this is that then I get a next option, which I didn't get on my other standard meetings. And it gives me the option to do this internal to my organisation or a public event. So I can pick people and groups, which will basically mean I select who can attend this live event. If I do it organisation wide, it means anybody in the organisation with that knows the URL can join it. If I do it public, as it says here, there's no sign-in required and everybody can connect in. So it can be, as we're using it today, an event for everybody to connect into. I have a few other options in here which are quite useful. I saw some people mentioning earlier about recording. So you can turn the recording of the event on and off if you wanted to. And you can get an engagement report as well. One good thing to remember, by default, the Q&A is not turned on. So we're using the Q&A function today. If you did want that, you would just have to turn that on as standard. There is also the ability to use external tools as well, which you could link in from there, but we're not using those at the moment. I then simply hit schedule, and it's going to go through and schedule that meeting. So it's got that. It's given me the URL here, so I can get the attendee link, the link that you're all connected in today. And if I was doing it quite quickly, it'll give me the option straight away to join in from there. Obviously, producer-wise, the producers would get the same link, but it knows who they are, so that they would come in at producer level, and it gives you the options to obviously do the chat and everything from there. So I'm just going to close on that because I don't want to schedule that event at the moment. And the next thing I'm going to focus on is the Meet Now option. So this is an option when you want to start a meeting straight away. So it works the same functionalities within chat, and the reason why I didn't show you it in chat is because we want to cover it in this section here. So you can give the meeting a name if you want to. So let's call it a live event meeting. Give it some purpose for the people that are joining in. It gives you the ability before you connect into this meeting. I'm the first person, I'm the producer of this meeting. It gives me the ability to turn off my camera and my microphone. As I said, my camera is disabled, but you notice my microphone was on as standard. So I've just turned that off. And if I press join now, it's going to set up this meeting. Now, there's nobody in this meeting at the moment other than myself. But what initially it prompts me for is to invite people into that meeting. So I could just simply start typing in here, people internal and external in my organisation that are in my contact list, and I could simply click those and it would invite those people into that meeting. It will also show me the status, so you'll see there that there was a mute on there. That's muted in relevance to this here. So if I'd started this call through chat, or if I'd started this through a scheduled meeting, it would look exactly the same. So what I want to go through now is some of the features in here that everybody can see. So initially, I've got the live event meeting, so you've got a timer on there, so you can see the time you've been on the event. From there, if I'd enabled recording, you would get the record option here. And while I'm in there, I can obviously toggle on my camera and my microphone as I need to. If you hover away from this, that will disappear off the screen shortly. All you need to do is shake your mouse and it will come back. If I was streaming live video, it would stream into this window here rather than having my AP, my initials in there. Obviously, if I had an image of myself, that would show up there as well. Now, there's a key thing to note when I'm having any sort of video call, it will only display 4 on a tile. So it'll only show you 4. So this screen would be split into 4 sections. And it would show the 4 people that are connected. If there are more than 4, you'll see the little icons along the bottom or the initials along the bottom from there. What it will do, it will toggle through whoever's talked last. So if there's 8 people in the meeting, the last 4 people to speak, it would show in the 4 pane here. It is a question we get commonly asked, well, why isn't Barry being shown up? He just needs to speak. It will then bring him to the forefront, and he would display on the 4 tiles. And then obviously, as more and more people speak, he would disappear down the list. So it will only at the moment display 4. I do believe it's a feature that Microsoft are working on, and something that will probably change in the future. But as we currently speak, you can only have 4. Okay, so next option I've got here is to share. So what I can do, not only can I do my video and I can do my voice, I can share. What does it give me the option to share? Well, it gives me the option to share my desktop. So if I click this option, it's going to share anything on my desktop. If I've got multiple screens, it will give the option to select which screen. In this case, I've only got 1 screen, so it's only giving me the 1 option. The other way to do it is it will display a window. Now, this is a more safe option because what it allows me to do is to share that 1 application. So rather than showing a screen that I could accidentally maybe show somebody on that screen that I didn't want to show something, if it was, for argument's sake, a PowerPoint presentation and I would just pick PowerPoint, that's the only thing they would ever see despite what I've got on any of my screens. So they're the 2 options you have in there. You then do have this PowerPoint option here. Now, I don't have any PowerPoint documents as this user at the moment, but if I did, it would allow me to see all the PowerPoint documents and share those from there. Okay, next option I've got, which is I think is really, really useful. I do have a whiteboard option. So if I press this option here, what it allows me to do is to load a whiteboard up. This gives me the ability to share, especially in this day and age where I can't sit down with my colleagues and have a whiteboard in front of me. It allows me to bring a whiteboard up on screen that we can all communicate and collaborate on, and we can all draw on from there. So if I was to invite Phil into this, he could collaborate on that and draw as well, and we can rub out. It is extremely basic, but it does give the ability for people to be able to collaborate who are more arty and want to do that sort of thing from there. Okay, so just touching on a few of the other options within here. So we've shared our screen or our application, and we've got Whiteboard in there. I can also start a conversation. So if we're all chatting, but verbally, but maybe somebody hasn't got a microphone or somebody's machine's crashed and they need to just do from a chat, we can actually just chat within this conversation as well, and it will record that within there. At any point in time, I do have this option as well. So if I do decide halfway through the meeting I want to add somebody else in that we'd forgot about, or we decided we wanted to add somebody else in, we can simply invite them in from there by clicking that option. I do also have the breadcrumbs as well. So the breadcrumbs will allow me to do certain things. So I can turn off incoming video. So if I'm in an area, we did this the other day, where the bandwidth isn't particularly good and people won't know that, you can turn off internal video. So that disables it when people are coming in, and if you're in a low bandwidth area, it will improve the usage on that. You've got the start recording option. So at any point, anybody within this within the chat or this live meeting can turn on the recording, providing they're part of your organisation. So they could start the recording, they could stop the recording. The recordings themselves are saved in something called Stream. So anybody that's got Teams has a Stream application. It's on the little the breadcrumb icons in the top left-hand corner. You can go in there and search for Stream. So any live video recording goes straight into Stream, and you can share it with the organisation from there, which is something we'll be doing today. There is live captions. So if we're talking, I will take my voice and put it on screen for people that maybe don't have any speakers in the machine. So it will do that, and it does work in multi-languages as well. So it's quite good if you're working across languages from that perspective. And we can also do meeting notes in here. So I can do show meeting notes. It will then bring up a meeting notes section, and we can take notes within the meeting, and then they'll be posted back to that chat element of things, and I'll show you that a bit later on when we come to that, of where that appears from there. There is the final option here is your device settings. So this is where you're picking your speakers, your audio devices, and your microphones. It does allow you in here to test them as well. So maybe if you have multiple speakers, maybe they're potentially in your monitors, and you want to change over to ones in your laptop or some external speakers, it does give the option to drop down. Like I say, I'm running this through a remote session, so you aren't seeing the options there. I'd only have the remote audio in there, but it does allow me to pick those through from there, as well as the camera as well. So it's a good place to go. We took a few calls last week from customers saying my audio wasn't working, and it was simply just a case of picking the right device up from here. So it's just a point to remember where that is. So that's in here, and device settings from there. Okay. So that covers that section. I'm now just going to drop out of this call here, and I'll just dismiss that. What you'll notice as well at the end of every call, it does get you to rate it. Microsoft love feedback, so it does get you to rate it. You can just dismiss it from there as well. There was I've just realised there was a final option on that breadcrumb setting that you didn't see there. And that was purely for that. So I was running through terminal services, which I think is a really good setting. You can, if you click the breadcrumbs, there is one called blur background. So like Phil said, if you are working at home and you've got pictures on the wall and you don't want everybody seeing your background, you can pick the blur background option. It will totally blur out anything in the background and just show you as the person. It does work really well. There are some functionality, there are some cameras it won't work with. So it works with things like Surface devices and HP notebooks. Doesn't work across the board, hence why it wasn't showing up there, because I was on a terminal server session when I was showing you that. So it doesn't give you the ability to do that, but it is a really good option from there, for getting rid of everything in the background from there. The final thing that I just forgot to mention on the live event as well was, if you are doing a live event, there is a 20-second delay. So I'm speaking to you now, and what you're hearing at this moment in time was probably 20 seconds away. This is just to do with coping with low bandwidth situations, so it will buffer a certain amount down to yourself. So obviously there isn't that degradation in voice from there. Okay, so we've now touched on kind of the chat element of things. Hopefully we covered everything off from there, and we've covered the 4 or 5 ways we can have voice and video calling, and obviously screen sharing from there. The next section I just briefly want to touch on is the activity section. So we've got activity here. What this shows you is a timeline of any activity that's gone on within my Teams. So that could be voice calls, it could be video calls, it could be Teams chats, it could be anything like that. It gives me the ability to see anything that's going on. And you will notice earlier you get a little red circle there to say there's an activity I've not actioned. If I have missed a call, for argument's sake, from Phil, it shows me all the history with the calls with Phil. I could simply just double click that now, and it would call him straight away, making it really easy to get back in touch with Phil from there. So that gives me the options for that section there. Okay, so we've kind of covered the communication side of Teams now, and what I'm going to move on to now is very briefly the Teams element of Teams and the collaboration, but we are going to touch around sort of the communication element within Teams. And I did see a couple of questions around the Teams element earlier on before we started, so hopefully I can clear a few things up from there on this side of things as well. So if I go into Teams, what it presents me with here is a standard team I've set up here. So I've created a team called Demo Site here. So this is a team I've created, and a team is a group of people that need to collaborate on something. So that could be a project. It's simply, in this case, and where we're heavily using it, it's a team of people. It's the operations team in the business that are now all working from home, or it's the support team that are now all working from home. And rather than turning around and saying, Phil, did you action that ticket? I've got Phil on the phone from a customer. It allows me to communicate with my team and collaborate. It might be a case of that there's a patch come out for a server, and before it might be a case of turning around on your chair and speaking to someone. It's a case of this can be done through the team section. So when you create a new team, it basically creates a team. You give it a name, and it will create a channel. So within teams, there are channels, and by default, it always creates a general channel. The general channel you can't delete and you cannot rename. It's always there as default. But what you can do is create subsequent channels under there. There is a limit of 250 channels per team, but it does give you the ability to create realistically as many channels as you need. I would recommend, however, keeping those down to the minimum. Otherwise, you'll end up with too many channels for people to communicate in. The reason why this is good, and some of you might be thinking, well, you've just showed me the chat section in there. Why would you use team section over chat? This is governed, so it's there permanently. It's controlled, so I can set permissions around this and set permissions around who can do what, who can see what, who can communicate with who. It can be backed up, and I can put a lot more security and control around that. But as a manager or a team leader, I can create that team. I can invite the people into that team and make sure those people that are part of that team get the information that they need, rather than letting individuals do it, which you could do in the chat section, but could get rather messy from that perspective. So what I've done for the purpose of this exercise, I've created a test channel. So I've created a new channel. So I created this team, and all I simply need to do to create a team, which we will be doing more on this at further sessions, is create a team. Once I've created a team, I can simply click here. I can add a channel. So I've added a channel into here, and in this channel, I get the friendly little taskbar I've shown you before. So within here, I've got the quick post from there. I've also got the ability, as we showed before, to add a more rich text environment in there, and I've got all the functionality that I've seen before. The other good thing I've got within here now, as we showed in the chat, I've got a Meet Now option. So if I press a Meet Now option within here, anybody in this team, because I can add multiple people into this team, as we mentioned earlier, anybody added into this team will be able to click on this link and join this meeting. And I can do that now from the Meet Now option, or I can schedule it if I wanted to, as we've seen previously. So here's one I did earlier. So what this has done, this has posted a test meeting into that team with a time and a date on it. Everybody in that team can simply click on that meeting request, go into it, and we can meet collectively together from there. And it will take me in, and it will show me who's in there and so forth from there. Now, the benefits of doing this through here are multiple. Obviously, before a team, if I schedule in a team meeting from there, or this test meeting in this case, it allows me to pop an agenda in there. So I could simply go in here, I could create a little matrix, and I could post and paste an agenda in there. So everybody can see that. Prior to the meeting, people can have a chat about the meeting, maybe add any comments they've got or any questions they may have prior to the meeting. So what we're allowing everybody to do here is more of a collaboration over this meeting and a collaboration over this team before we go ahead. Now, I didn't mention earlier about meeting notes. So if I create a meeting within here and everybody joins that meeting from within here, and then I go to meeting notes, what it will do, it will create automatically this meeting notes tab at the top, and any notes we've taken from that meeting are in here, so we can action them from there. So this is why it's really useful to have the meeting through the team rather than through a chat or through an instant meeting, because it allows me then to obviously have those meeting notes afterwards from there. We also have the same abilities we saw in chat earlier, which is the files. So I can then share any files within that team. So what we showed earlier in the chat was me sharing a file between Phil and myself in that chat. But what this allows me to do, this allows me to share multiple files with the team, and we can collaborate and work on them in exactly the same ways we did earlier, but it's just in a controlled environment that we've set up, we've got structure over, and everybody can see. Some of the other things that we can do within the team as well is we can add across the top different sections in here. So as you'll notice, there's a plus sign here as well. So I can add different sections into this team. For argument's sake, if there was a website I wanted everybody to go to within that team, I could have a website tab and it would automatically load that website up from there and go straight to that. Or if I had attached a file in here and said, this is work instructions, or this is an Excel spreadsheet that I want everybody to update, if I click the breadcrumbs next to here and make this a tab, what it will automatically do, it will create that in a browser itself. Now it's called information. I can rename that if I wanted to. It's just pick the file name up, but I could call it test file for argument's sake, click save. And then it gives me the ability to open that file within Teams. So it's using the browser functionalities within Teams to bring in the Word, and I can then amend that live from there. Really making it very, very simple for people to share files and collaborate on files within the organisation. There are a whole host of other applications I can add in here as well, and we will touch on this more further sessions, but I can add in document libraries from SharePoint. We mentioned Stream, where it shaves the video, so I can add in Stream. Not only that, I can add a whole host of other third-party applications in there. For argument's sake, Salesforce, YouTube, loads and loads of third-party applications that can be added in. But they are being added to on a daily basis, so it's worth keeping an eye on those. You can also add anything in that's web browser based as well. So as I said, you can add a website in there. If your CRM system's web based, Gold Vision for argument's sake, Sage 200, you can add those in, and it will pop up within a web browser, and people can log on from there. Okay, from my perspective then, I think that that's it. So what we've kind of covered today is obviously the basic chat functionality, the different ways we can do a video call, whether that a video or voice call, whether that be through the chat itself, through a calendar invite from Outlook, through the calendar invite within Teams, the Meet Now option. We obviously talked about the live event option, and then the meeting options within Teams as well, and the benefits of doing it within Teams, the fact it's managed and controlled, and obviously I know who is in that team, and I'm not having to think, do I invite Phil to this, or do I invite Andy to this, and so forth. So that's me for today. Well, I'll open up to Phil and to Andy for Q&As. I hope you found it useful, and I look forward to doing future events shortly.
Okay, thanks, Tone. Just checking you. Can you hear me again now? Tone, Andy, can you just check that you can hear me? Just come off mute to say yes.
Yeah, you're showing up fine.
Yeah, back on, and my screen's back on. Right, thanks guys. Thanks Tony. Right, we're gonna head into Q&A. Just before we do, just a couple of bits while Tony was talking about, if I can just add to very quickly.
It does look like Phil is tied up with the Q&A section. So we will, as I said, we will open this to Q&A. If anybody wants to see anything more in the future, any particular sections or sessions you would like us to cover, as Phil said, please do let us know. But yeah, please do ask any questions possible. We will keep it open as until we've answered everybody's questions, or if there's things we need to come back, then we will do.
Right, it sounds like Tony can't hear me for some reason, but I am talking. We just messaged him. I think he's turned off his sound, but hopefully he will be back with us in a second, which is probably why he couldn't hear me speaking to him in the middle of that, which is why I stopped. So a couple of things just to clarify. First and foremost, on the video and voice calls, you can have a combination of them as well. So if you have got people that haven't got cameras, but you want to do video calls and voice calls combined, you can do that. It's also worth noting as well that from a meeting point of view, if you've got multiple people in those meetings, it's very important to have someone leading that meeting, i.e. saying, right, it's your turn to talk, it's your turn to talk. We've had it a number of times where kind of everybody piles in all at once. And so actually controlling that meeting like a real live meeting is very important, something to get your head around quite quickly. Okay, Tony, you back with us now? Can you hear me? Have you got my messages? If not, Andy, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, we all.
Right, Andy, do you want to pick up a couple of the live chats? Sorry, the Q&As, and
the
we'll
Q&A bits? Yeah, so we've had a couple of interesting questions that were asked during the actual bits of the presentation. So I'll try and start from the top and go down. So the first one was, do you have to add people to your contacts? Now, I'm presuming this is related to having to chat with people. Do they need to be in your contacts list to actually get in touch with them? The answer to that is no. You can actually add anyone within your organization or external guests just by clicking the chat feature and searching for them. The search feature will just then go out and look for them. Even if they're not in your organization and they are Teams enabled, it will pull them through, and you should be able to send them a message straight away. The next question there is, if you do a live event, can you disable text chat? So the chat feature in live events is actually only for the meeting presenters and organizers. The main reason to actually get hold of people, for people to be able to communicate with the presenters is via the Q&A part. Otherwise, there's no other communication method there. Okay, the next one we've got is, we do not have the calendar. Oh, no, that's completely one I've already answered. That's no problem. In the whiteboard, can you draw over images or PDF files? Yes, you can. You can import images and PDFs and then draw over them. It's obviously really, really good for collaborating on drawings, plans, outlining any changes or anything like points of interest that you want to go over. So it's a really, really great feature for collaborating on the whiteboard side. And the last one I've got is, can multiple people work on the same file at once in files in Teams? Yes, you can, as long as you're in the web version, or you're in Teams yourself, or you've got the Office 365 version of Office. There is a couple of limitations if you're using older versions like 2013. The collaboration features don't quite work correctly, so you do need to make sure you keep your Office versions updated or use the web version, and multiple people can collaborate on any sort of Microsoft-based product like Word and Excel. And I think that's it for all the questions in the Q&A part. If anyone's got anything else, feel free to
I've had one more come through to me, Andy, as well, which was about only being able to see one video in the screen, not four, even when there's multiple people. Now, without knowing the exact setup of that, there's a couple of possible answers. I've just had a quick Google of it as well, because if it isn't the fix that fixed it for me, because I had that problem. I won't demo this because it's fairly straightforward to do, but in the top right of your Teams software, there's your face or your initials. If you click on that, about 4 or 5 down, there's a zoom function. Now, I found after a couple of weeks of using this, when we first turned it on, that my zoom was set to 200%, and that absolutely squashes down the screen of what fits on it. Now, if you just literally just bring that back out to 100% or 80% or 120%, whatever fits, that actually allows more stuff to fit on that screen. So things that kind of slide out or pop out, that may fix it. Alternatively, from looking on Google very quickly, if you're using the web browser, it appears that the web browser in some browsers only supports one video at a time. So again, we're going to share these links in a second, and we'll share them afterwards. There is now the free version of Teams, the application. If you install that application, then you're going to get that functionality to allow multiple videos in one, or try it in a different browser that may well support that. But that should fix it. Like I say, the zoom functionality was a bit of a game changer for me, because I was hardly fitting anything on my screen. And like I say, from clicking on my profile picture in the top right or your initials, it's very easy to just adjust that yourself to the correct level of zoom to fit more on the screen. Cool. Have we had any more come in there, Andy, or anything else you want to add, Tone?
I think there's a couple more questions come in about fixed telephone numbers. Did you pick that one up earlier?
No, I don't think we have.
Okay, so can you buy a fixed telephone number from Microsoft to replace a landline? Yes, you can. It's a bolt-on package for Teams, so you can add a phone number on there, and that could be ported straight through. One thing we haven't really touched on today is the ability of Teams to be used as kind of a PBX. So you have the ability to do that. People can have DDI numbers, and you can transfer calls through to people and so forth. So absolutely, you can do that. Next one was, is there something I could state or link I can put on my emails that lets my customers know I'm available through Teams? Absolutely, you could just amend your email signature within Outlook to let everybody know that this is your Teams address, which is going to be your primary email address, and that's the method you want to be contacted by. Simply add that on and let them know, and they can contact you straight through Teams. As we showed earlier, when you go to new to have a chat or start a call, all they need to do is put in your primary email address, and they'll be able to contact you through Teams that way as well.
That's worked great for us as well. We've had a couple of people contact us this last couple of weeks who have been at home, not had their normal phones, terrible mobile phone reception wherever they live, and have just said, can we contact you on Teams? And we've done exactly that. Whack their email address in, we can have a voice call with them, no problem, video call if need be. So yeah, that does work very, very easily and quickly. And like you say, it's just your email address basically, isn't it? So
yeah.
Simple.
There was another question, how can I turn on notifications for Teams? Get notified when I have a chat, but not when anyone else has posted on the team. There are varying different Teams notifications you can set up. As standard, if you click on your face in the top right hand corner of Teams, where the little circle is in your status, and go to settings in there is a notification option. There is a whole host of notifications within there that you can change and set to do with notifications. If it's within a team, the best thing to get people to do as part of sort of Teams etiquette is, if somebody is wanting a response from you, is to get them to @ you, to put the @ in there. So when they're putting a reply at Tony Pearson, it will then notify me. Otherwise, it might just fell by the wayside and everything else. Yes, it will show up as a dark bold. Yes, it will show up that there's a notification, but it might not be as prevalent. And a bit of the Teams etiquette again, which we hope to cover another section, is around notifications and how to get the most out of those notifications. But I would encourage people to @ everybody if they want to get through to them.
Brilliant. Is that the last one?
No, I think we've got some more.
Yep.
I'm just reading them now. Just one second.
Just while you're reading them, Tone, I'll just put these up on screen. We're going to be, I think these are now live actually up on our blog. So on hppsystems.co.uk/blog and cameron.co.uk/blog, but we will share them on our social as well. Just some useful resources. So the links, if you want the full application, it's simple. teams.microsoft.com. Obviously, it's got everything else there, but that's where the link for the freemium version is if you aren't currently using Office 365. There's also a really good quick start guide, which we've already put up, which is a PDF. It's about 3 pages long, but all of these little buttons that Tony's been running through today, it'll just give you a little kind of guide to where things are. That's the screenshot that's on the screen now. We've also done a video for just how to download the application onto mobile devices. So I'm sure most of you are fully aware how to download applications onto your mobile, but if you've got users in your organisation who maybe aren't quite so tech savvy, it will literally walk them through the process of going onto the App Store, clicking the buttons, downloading it, all of that, signing in. So that's great. And also the Microsoft Team Support guides that Microsoft put out, there's tons and tons of content, videos, step-by-step guides. So if you need a refresher of stuff on one specific area, we've got that on our blog already as well. And like I say, we'll send this round and we'll stick it up on our social media platforms as well. Okay, Tony, did you want to pick up?
Yeah, there was a question regarding you'd invited a customer to a Teams meeting and they were having troubles with the web link. The web link should work on nearly all devices. I think we would need to know a bit more information about what the error that we're getting. It does work really well through any browser, so I'd be keen to catch up with on that one separately. So if you want to get in contact with us, we can pick that up and see if we can help you with to why that's not working properly.
Absolutely.
I think that was the last one, Phil. So I'm hoping.
I'll just cover some.
Yeah, there's a couple of extra sort of technical questions that people are putting up about calendars, like the calendar icon not showing up, the calendar tab, and a couple of technical things. On the technical side, you're probably better speaking to our support team about your specific issue, because it may be specific to your tenant, or actual problems within the setup of like configuration of your teams itself, which obviously we can't cover everything in the webinar on that.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I've just scrolled down and we've got some more. One of the questions, Phil, was thanks for today. How many people have we had logged in?
So I think at the height we were just shy of 200, which considering we had I think we must have ended up on about 260 registered. I know a few people had emailed me and said we can't attend, but can we have the video? Yeah, so it's being recorded. We will send that round. I think in the past, the highest number we've ever had on a webinar is around about 50, when probably at the height of GDPR and security, when we run a lot of webinars. So this just shows, I think we're all in this together when it comes to working from home. This is, don't get me wrong, we've been using this at HBP and Cameron for probably 12 to 18 months, but I felt a bit of a shock to a system a couple of weeks ago when suddenly it became my primary method of communication. So we are learning. Literally, we're finding new buttons that we didn't know existed on a day-to-day basis and finding use for them. So yeah, it's great that everyone's using it, but what a learning curve for us all. What a crazy world we're living in when we have to do all of this and get our heads around this as well as everything else that's going on. But amazing update. So thanks everybody for taking a bit of time. Hopefully it's been useful.
Phil, I've just got I think a final question,
yeah, go for it.
Which was, can you download this on your phone? Absolutely. There's an Android app. There is an iPhone app. If you're using an iPhone, just go to the iPhone store and download it. Simply have to put in username and password. It is very feature rich. It works really well. Everything I've shown you today, you can do through it. And regarding notifications, yes, it does notify you. If somebody rings you through a chat or a video call, it rings like a phone call. I was actually in a Teams meeting the other day on a hands-free kits in my car. It rings and works and looks exactly the same as a phone call. So it works really, really well. Sorry, we've got more questions. What's the difference between Teams video and in Skype? Teams video and in Skype are the same. Skype is being end of life at the end of this year, isn't it, Andy?
Yeah, they're trying to end of life, as in they're not allowing any new customers to go onto the product. It's still going to be online and working, but obviously it is going to be available there. But yeah, the VoIP and video, well, the video side of Skype and Teams is actually backed off the same system. So they're pretty much the same product in this scenario of usage, but obviously the Teams has got a lot more bigger array of utilities and tools that it comes with. It's not just a chat and video calling platform.
Am I right in thinking, Andy, that Skype is continuing from home usage, though? We won't see the brand disappear as such. We just see it come out of use in business. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's the Skype for Business version that's been end of life. Skype itself is just carrying on as normal. Yeah.
But just a bit more around that. The videoing is practically the same. Some of the features that I showed you, like the screen share, and the whiteboardy type things, then they aren't in Skype. So Teams is certainly more feature rich from that perspective.
Cool.
I think there's some more questions, Phil. I'm just trying to.
No, keep going. Obviously, if people need to leave and go, we are recording this, so you will be able to pick up on these at the end.
One of the questions: how do we access the blog? Phil, have you got the URL for that?
Yeah, it's the easiest way, if you go to our website, so hppsystems.co.uk or cameron.co.uk, it's at the bottom of the page, or hppsystems.co.uk/blog, or cameron.co.uk/blog. Again, we'll send out these links afterwards just so everyone's got them. We obviously won't spam you with loads of information. I'll try and do it in one email that comes out that's got all of these useful links, and you should be able to access everything from there and see those things as we go. And that's where we'll announce our future sessions and the next kind of stages from this as well. Again, if people in the Q&A have got specific things they want to see next. So if you want us to go into Teams in more depth, or you want to know more about the video chat, if you whack that in now, obviously we can just keep a track of what people want to see on the next sessions, and we can cover anything more in a little bit more depth. I know when Tony was prepping for this, he kind of had to hold himself back, otherwise you would have been here all day, because there's so much to go through and there's so much functionality in there. I know the Teams side of things in particular, brilliant from a management point of view whilst we're all remote. So there's tools like Planner, which allow you to manage workloads a little bit like Asana and Bootcamp and products like that. So there's a lot more functionality that we can go into, but we were conscious of the fact that you're probably a week or two into using this software at all. So we wanted to start with some of the key stuff just to get everyone up and running.
I think that's it, Phil. So
cool.
again,
Okay, so
thanks very
we'll
much.
just finish up then. If there's more that come through, we can pick those up with you individually, or indeed you can reply to the email that we send out, and we'll obviously get some answers to that. Just to make you aware as well, we are running some more webinars. I know obviously the Teams one is very prevalent at the moment, but a few people have asked us about doing a bit of research. I know it's strange times at the moment in terms of whether or not people are in the market for new systems and new software, but we are running some sessions over this week around accounting software and things like that. So we've got Spindle, document management, voucher invoice recognition and Credit Hound running tomorrow at 3. A session on our manufacturing solution, Advanced Business Cloud, on Thursday, and another one on Thursday around Document Manager. So these are being run by some of our partners. So we're going to, again, share these. If you've got time on your hands, it's a good time potentially to do a bit of research for the future, then those are available as well. And I think that's about it. So apologies, we've run slightly over time, but obviously we had a lot of questions in there, which were great. If you've got more questions, like I say, the email that you've had out for confirmation of this comes through to me. So I will pick that up. I'll pass that on to any relevant people if it's a technical one that needs answering. Obviously, if you're one of our customers and you just want to phone the support desk and ask those questions, the guys are obviously working from home, but it's as close to business as normal as anyone can be at the moment. So you can log your tickets in the normal way. You can phone the normal numbers. You can email the normal email addresses. And they will get picked up and sorted as normal. Unless there's anything to add from yourself, Tony or Andy, I think we can let everyone get back to their beans on toast or whatever it is.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody. Have a lovely rest of your day, and make sure you stay at home and stay fit and healthy for as long as possible. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone.